For weeks, I told myself it was just the stress. Tasha had just been promoted to senior manager at her firm, first woman in her department to make it that far in under 5 years. I was proud of her. She worked hard, gave up weekends, skipped family events, all for this. I knew the pressure must have been eating at her. So when she started acting cold, I chalked it up to long hours and exhaustion. When she pulled away from my touch on the couch, I figured her mind was still at the office. When she started sleeping with her back to me, I blamed the spreadsheets and client calls that ran past midnight. But then came the fights. Tiny, pointless things. I left the dishes in the sink. She rolled her eyes and said I never help with anything. I asked if we could go out Friday night. She snapped, "I'm not your trophy to parade around." Everything I said seemed to light a fuse. Still, I swallowed my pride and gave her space. I wanted to support her. I knew success came with sacrifices, but I didn't know I was the sacrifice. It started to unravel one Sunday afternoon. She was in the kitchen, phone glued to her hand, smiling at something. Not laughing, smiling, soft, secretive, like the way she used to smile at me across crowded rooms. "Who's that?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She jumped, locked her phone. "Just work." That word again. Work had become the excuse for everything. The reason she forgot my birthday, the reason she missed our date nights, the reason she stopped saying I love you without me saying it first. I decided not to push. I didn't want to be that boyfriend, insecure, needy, jealous. But the next night, I couldn't sleep. She had left her laptop open on the dining table while showering. Notifications pinged in the corner. I wasn't looking for anything. I just noticed. "Dinner again tomorrow?" "You're the only reason I still like coming to this place." The messages were from someone named Darren, her boss, the man who personally announced her promotion. My stomach dropped. I opened the email thread. Months. It had been going on for months. Flirty jokes, complaints about me, about how I didn't understand her ambition, how I was comfortable with average, promises to keep things quiet until the timing is right. I closed the laptop. Sat in the dark until I heard the shower turn off. She came out wrapped in a towel, humming like nothing was wrong. I stood. "How long, Tasha?" She blinked. "What?" I didn't repeat myself. I didn't have to. Her face crumbled, but she didn't deny it. Just silence. Finally, she whispered, "I didn't mean for it to happen." I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "Of course you didn't. It wasn't like that." "Then tell me what it was like," I snapped. "Tell me why the woman I supported, loved, and sacrificed for turned into a stranger overnight." Tasha looked down, ashamed, or maybe just caught. "He made me feel seen," she said. "He believed in me, and I was scared that you'd never understand what it means to want more than this life." I stared at her, heart cracking in slow, steady pieces. "I understood," I said softly, "but clearly you wanted someone who made you forget the life you already had." I didn't scream, I didn't throw things, I just grabbed my keys and left. I don't know if she'll try to reach out. Maybe she'll regret it one day, maybe not. I didn't sleep that night. Even after I walked out, even after I told myself I was done, my mind kept circling back to her face. The way she looked guilty, but not surprised, not broken, like she already knew this moment was coming. The next day she texted, "Please talk to me. It's not what you think." I ignored her. She tried again. I swear nothing physical happened between me and Darren. Not once. I just needed someone who understood the pressure I was under. Darren. I hadn't even known his name until I read those emails. VP of her department. Older. Married. The kind of man who praises your work and touches your elbow just a little too long in meetings. When I finally agreed to meet her, we didn't go inside. We sat in my car, parked under a tree outside her apartment complex. A storm rolled in above us, not thunder, just that heavy kind of silence that waits to explode. She looked tired, pale, smaller than I remembered. "I never slept with him," she said before I could even speak. I kept my eyes forward. "So what, you just gave him everything but your body?" She flinched, but she didn't get angry. "It wasn't like that." "Then tell me what it was like, Tasha." She looked down at her hands, picked at her nails, a nervous habit I hadn't seen in months. "I felt invisible," she said. "You were supportive, yeah, but you didn't get it. The pressure, the competition." Darren listened. He didn't make me feel like I had to explain why I cared so much about this job. I turned to her. "So that's all it takes now? feeling understood? A couple of long talks and you hand your heart to someone else? No, she said quickly. I didn't hand anything over. It just happened, slowly. I started venting to him. Then I started looking forward to those talks. I didn't realize how far it went until you found those messages. That's emotional cheating, Tasha. She didn't deny it. She didn't even try. I know, she said softly, and I hate myself for it. We sat there in silence. Rain started tapping against the windshield. I stared at the wipers, unmoving. Tasha wiped her cheek. You're right. I looked at her, really looked. She was still the woman I fell in love with, but also not. Did he know how you felt? I asked. She nodded slowly. Yeah, I think he felt it too. Did he feel guilty? She paused. No. Of course he didn't. Darren had nothing to lose. She did. It took me 3 weeks to answer her last message. Not because I didn't miss her. I did, in every quiet moment, in every place where she used to be. Her toothbrush still sat in the cup by the sink. Her cardigan still hung behind the door. I'd reach for my phone to tell her something funny and then stop, realizing I didn't know if we still had that kind of connection anymore. But the pain didn't make me love her less. It just made it harder to say it out loud. When I finally called, I didn't even say hello. I just said, let's talk. She was quiet on the other end, then, okay. We met at a park bench halfway between her apartment and mine. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Hair in a loose bun, no makeup, old jeans and sneakers. The version of her I fell in love with, the real her. She didn't speak first. She just looked at me, like she was afraid even her breathing might break whatever thread still tied us together. I spoke softly. I hated you for a while, she nodded. I hated myself for letting it get that far, she said. I know nothing physical happened with Darren. I believe you now, but that didn't make it easier. Tasha blinked back tears. I know. I kept asking myself if it was weakness that made you drift, or if it was me. I paused. But the truth is, people mess up. Sometimes not out of malice, sometimes just because they're lost. Her lip trembled. I was. I know, I said, and I think I still love you enough to fight for what we had, if you're willing to fight for it too. She covered her mouth and let out a broken sound, half sob, half relief. I'm so sorry. I'm not asking you to say that anymore, I said. I'm asking you to show me. Every day. Because if we're going to try again, I need honesty. Not perfection, just honesty. She nodded fiercely. You'll have it, I promise. I took her hand. It felt familiar and foreign all at once. I'm not forgetting what happened, I said, but I'm choosing to forgive it. She didn't say anything. She just leaned in, forehead resting against mine, tears slipping down her cheeks. I thought I lost you, she whispered. You almost did. Things got better between us, or so I thought. Tasha moved back in a few weeks after we had that talk in the park. We repainted the bedroom, cooked together again, even planned a short weekend trip to Asheville, just the two of us, no distractions. She laughed more, held my hand again, even looked me in the eyes like she meant it when she said, I love you. And I believed her. God help me, I wanted to believe her. We'd sit on the couch watching documentaries late into the night. She'd rest her head on my shoulder, and for a moment I'd forget the past. We stopped mentioning Darren. I thought maybe we'd buried that ghost for good, but ghosts don't stay buried, not when they're fed in the dark. It started small. Her mood shifted again, not the explosive kind like before, just subtle changes. Distant eyes, delayed replies, the way her phone never left her side, even in the bathroom. I tried to ignore it, tried to convince myself it was just paranoia. One night, she was asleep beside me, breathing slow and steady in the dim light. Her phone buzzed softly on the nightstand. I chose to ignore it, telling myself to trust her, to let it go. But there was this nagging feeling deep inside me, a quiet alarm I couldn't silence, a shadow creeping over everything we'd tried to rebuild. 3 months after she moved back in, things felt almost normal. She had this smile again, the kind that reached her eyes. I'd catch her humming while doing the dishes or dancing around the kitchen while we made breakfast. I let myself believe we were past the worst of it, until she texted me out of nowhere. Tasha, can we meet at the cafe near my office? 6 p.m. I need to tell you something. Please. No explanation, just that. And all that hope I'd rebuilt cracked in an instant. I got there early. She was already inside, seated at the far corner by the window again. Déjà vu. But this time, she didn't even pretend to smile when she saw me. Her face was pale, eyes red. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. I sat down. She barely looked at me. "What's going on?" I asked. "You okay?" She nodded at first, then shook her head. "Tasha, what is it?" She took a deep breath like she had to will the words out. "I've been seeing someone," she said softly. I froze. The air around us turned thick. My ears rang. My voice came out low and even. "Darren?" She shook her head. "No." I blinked. "Then who?" She looked me dead in the eyes. "Cameron, the CEO." My stomach dropped. "Of your company?" She nodded again. "It started at a conference. He paid attention, said things I hadn't heard in a long time. I didn't plan on anything happening, but it did, and it didn't stop." I wanted to scream, but all I could do was stare at her. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. The words hit like a hammer to the chest. I leaned back slowly. "You're what?" "I found out last week. I've been trying to figure out what to do. I needed to be sure before I told you." My throat dried up. "And it's his?" She looked away. I laughed. One of those dark, painful laughs that comes from somewhere deep and hollow. "He's married?" I asked. "No," she said quickly. "He's not. But he made it clear he's not looking for anything permanent. Not with me. He said he'd support the child, but doesn't want complications." "Complications," I repeated. "Like you, the woman carrying his kid." She flinched. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," she whispered. "Yes, you did," I said coldly. "You didn't slip and fall into bed with him. You chose this, while I was trying to rebuild something real with you." Her tears started, but they didn't move me this time. "I wanted to come clean," she said. "I owed you that." "No, Tasha," I said. "You owed me honesty months ago, before we painted that bedroom, before we planned Asheville, before I let myself believe in you again." She reached across the table, but I didn't move. "I never stopped loving you," she said through tears. I stared at her hand. "You don't love me," I said. "You love being loved, and when it's not enough, you chase it somewhere else." I stood up. I was halfway to the door when it hit me. A sick thought. Cold and crawling, rising from the pit of my stomach like poison. I turned back. She was still in that same position, slouched over the table like she was trying to disappear into it, her hand gripping the coffee cup like it was the only thing tethering her to reality. "Tasha," I said, and she looked up, startled. I walked back to the table, slow, measured. "We were sleeping together," I said. "Around the same time, weren't we?" She blinked. A pause. "Yes. Then how do you know the baby isn't mine?" Her mouth opened, but no words came out. That moment, that half-second hesitation was everything I needed. "You don't know, do you?" She started shaking her head too fast. I'm pretty sure. I counted the weeks. It lines up with when I was with Cameron." "You're pretty sure?" I snapped. "I didn't mean it like that." "Like what?" I said, voice rising. "Like you were gambling on whose life you were about to ruin?" "I didn't plan any of this," she whispered, eyes pleading. "I never wanted to hurt you like this. I swear." "But you still chose to lie again," I said. "To come here and deliver this like a damn speech you rehearsed in your head. And now, the one thing I needed to hear, certainty, you can't even give me that?" I stared at her like I'd never seen her before. And maybe I hadn't, not really. "I would have taken care of that baby," I said quietly. "If it was mine, even after everything, I would have stepped up because I loved you." She nodded, sobbing now. "But the worst part," I continued, "is knowing that somewhere deep down you didn't think I deserved that truth. You let me walk around thinking we were healing, while you were still sleeping with someone else." "I was scared," she whispered. "I thought maybe if I stayed with you, I could undo it all." "You can't undo betrayal," I said. "You can't paint over it. You can't cook dinners and plan trips and laugh your way through it." I leaned in, my voice low and cold. "It doesn't matter who the father is anymore, because I know what kind of mother you'll be, the kind who lies to protect herself, not the people who love her." She gasped, wounded. Maybe it was cruel, but it was honest. "If it's mine," I said, "I'll do right by the kid. Not for you, for them. But if it's not—" I let the words hang there. Her eyes searched mine, desperate for some kind of reaction. "I did the test," she said quietly, voice trembling. "The NIPT test, the non-invasive prenatal paternity test. It analyzes fetal DNA in my blood. They can do it as early as 7 weeks." I waited, heart pounding. "It's accurate," she whispered. I wanted to know for sure before telling you, and the results came back. It's Cameron's. The weight of her words crushed me all over again. I wanted to scream, to argue, to demand a second opinion, but the cold truth settled in, heavy and final. So it's not mine, I said, voice barely audible. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought if you knew the truth, real truth, it would be better. I shook my head, bitter. There's no better in this, only worse. She reached out to me, but I pulled away. Thank you for being honest, I said, but honesty can't fix this. I stood up, pain twisting every step. This changes everything. And with that, I left. Just like that, it was over between us. No dramatic scenes, no shouting matches, just a quiet unraveling that left me hollow and numb. Tasha packed up her things with a mechanical precision, moving back to her parents' home. I knew they were there to support her, to catch her when everything fell apart, but I was no longer part of that safety net. The home we once shared was suddenly too empty, every corner echoing memories that felt like knives. A few days later, my phone buzzed with an email from her. I hesitated before opening it, part of me still hoping, part of me bracing for the worst. The message was long, pages of apologies, regret, and desperate pleas for forgiveness. She wrote about how she'd messed everything up, how she wished she could turn back time, how much she still cared, even though she knew she had no right to ask for anything from me anymore. I read every word, feeling the weight of it pressed down on my chest, and after the last line, I sat back and took a deep breath. I told her I forgave her, not because I felt she deserved it, but because holding on to anger would only keep poisoning me. But I also told her this: forgiveness doesn't mean I could be part of her life again. Some wounds, I realized, only start to heal when you let go completely, when you accept that the person you loved is no longer the one you knew. Not long after, she left the company, the place that had become a tangled web of betrayal and heartbreak. And then, just as quickly as it began, the CEO dumped her too. I don't know what kind of arrangements they made about the baby, financial support, custody, whatever promises or deals were whispered behind closed doors. Frankly, it's not my problem anymore. I washed my hands of it all. Now I'm trying to face life looking forward, one day at a time, one breath at a time. I'm learning to rebuild the pieces of myself she helped break, because some chapters close so we can start writing the next. And this time, I want to write it on my own terms. As time passed, the truth settled in like a cold shadow, impossible to ignore. She never really loved me, not in the way I had believed, not with the depth I had hoped for. What I thought was love was just a fleeting illusion, a fragile thread she clung to while her heart wandered elsewhere. She was always searching for love somewhere else, always chasing the next man who made her feel seen, even if just for a brief moment. It was like watching someone run after shadows, desperate to catch a glimpse of something real, something that could fill the emptiness inside her. But no matter how many times she reached out, that hole never got smaller. It was a hunger I couldn't satisfy, no matter how much I gave. It wasn't about us. It was about her own needs, her own struggles, and her own endless chase for something she couldn't name. I was just another stop on a path that led nowhere, and slowly, painfully, I stopped hoping she'd change. I stopped waiting for the love I wanted to believe in. Instead, I started hoping, with every ounce of strength I had, that I could find peace without her. That I could learn to live without the person who never truly wanted to stay. That hope was fragile, but it was mine. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like a beginning instead of an ending.